everybody, we are back here at Jerry's Sandwich Factory, our home. We are just so excited today. We have our first celebrity guest.
Welcome. This isn't him?
Danny's filling in for Chase today. Chase is a little under the weather, so he took a shot from our guest today and couldn't make it. He couldn't handle it.
Yes, exactly.
We're excited. This guy is a legend in the WWE. He's a Hall of Famer. He's an author. Just absolutely phenomenal. Come on in. I'm not even going to introduce.
Oh! Is that camera on? Give me a hole, guys. Oh! Let me sit down here and join you fellas, man. How's it going today, guys?
Oh man, it is
Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I'm excited to be here. I've had a great day down here in Orlando. I just had a great sandwich at Jerry's Sandwich Factory. I'm stuffed to the gill. Give me a hole on the sandwiches, guys. Oh! I'm going to have to get to the gym tomorrow and do some time on the treadmill to burn all these calories off. Oh, I noticed you got an action figure here.
I do.
That's the old joke. People say, Hacksaw, I've got your doll. I said they're not dolls, they're action figures, brother.
And we've got the book here that you just wrote. If you want to tell us a little bit about it real quick.
Well, Scotty, I'm glad you brought that up, because so many folks see the movie The Wrestler, they see the story about Scott Hall, they see the story about Jake the Snake Roberts. This is a positive look at professional wrestling. I've been wrestling now 34 years. I've been with my wife 28 years. I've never been to rehab. I've never had a felony arrest. It's been a great business for me. Over those 34 years I've wrestled in every state in the Union, every province in Canada, in 23 different countries. It's amazing the appeal of professional wrestling around the world.
Oh, it is.
But it's a good business. So many people see Mickey Rourke, that jerk. I'll tell you a story about Mickey Rourke later.
Okay, yeah, we won't do that on camera probably.
No, we can tell it on camera too. But I just want to say that, guys like Hot Rod Roddy Piper, my very good friend, very successful in our business. Tito Santana, very successful in our business. A lot of guys are successful. Not everybody's a train wreck.
Right. Yeah, I'm friends with Jimmy Hart and Jerry Lawler.
Jerry Lawler,
they're great guys.
Of course, yeah.
And it's amazing. It's fantastic that we can get you guys in here and stuff like that, and maybe on the show. And I know Jimmy's going to be coming in here soon to do the show.
Jimmy's a very good friend of mine. Back in the old WCW days, they had WCW Nitro, they had Thursday Night Thunder, and they had the Saturday afternoon shows. They gave Jimmy Hart and myself the Saturday afternoon shows. I was the television champion on that show, and we had 1/10 of the budget that Thunder did. And we would do better numbers than Thunder did on Thursday. And once in a while, we would rival Monday Night Nitro with our TV ratings.
Awesome. That's amazing.
Because it was traditional wrestling. It wasn't all the talking. It wasn't all the obscene gestures. It wasn't all the profanity. It was professional wrestling folks grew up with.
It was wrestling when wrestling was wrestling.
Wrestling was wrestling.
Yeah.
How's that go? Wrestling when wrestling was
wrestling. Yeah. hey, I got it out. Let's see if anybody else can. But yeah, it's great to have you here. I met you about 15 years ago or so. We were talking about that earlier.
I think that was my older brother.
Was it your older brother?
No, I've been around a while, but Hogan and Flair still call me kid.
Yeah. And they finally came. But it was right after your cancer.
Yes, yep. I was, I've been blessed in my life. I was just about 15 years ago, almost 15 years ago, I was diagnosed with kidney cancer. And it was a terrifying ordeal in my life, to say the least. I had 2 young daughters at the time, I've always been healthy, and I was passing blood. And my wife insisted that I go to the doctor, and I'm like, well, I just took a bad fall in the ring. I took a bad bump, as we call it in the business. And even my wife was like, well, you don't bump in the ring, Jim. I'm like, okay, well, I better go to the doctor. When I went to my good friend, the doctor, over, and I lived in Titusville, Florida at the time. And I was, joking with the doctor, flirting with the nurses, and my friend, Doc, came in and said, Jim, it's cancer. And it was terrifying. I fell back in my chair. I didn't know what to say or what to do. I spent the week before my surgery, because I went right in and had my surgery. I spent the week in my daughter's room crying and praying. I didn't want. It puts everything in perspective. finances, work, everything else goes down the tubes. All that mattered is I wanted to survive this so my daughters would grow up with a father. And with the grace of God and early detection, they saved my life. So I do a lot of work with the American Cancer Society. I just try to get that word out to folks. If there's something wrong, go get it checked out. If they catch it, they can cure it. So many folks are afraid to go to the doctor or don't think, it's no big deal. I don't want to go to the doctor. Go to the doctor, get it checked out, and save your life.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, because I know when I met you, just a few years before that, I lost my dad to cancer.
Right.
So I know
Terrible
it was one
disease.
of the things that we kind of bonded a little bit that day, talking and hanging
Sure
out
did,
and stuff.
yep.
And it's been really cool, and it's been great having you back in Orlando. I know you're not living here anymore in Florida, so
Well, I actually come to Orlando quite a bit. I'm very active in the NFL Retired Players Association, and funny that Orlando has the most successful NFL players chapter in the country, and there's no NFL team here. So it's great to come down here. I come down for the meetings quite a bit. And of course, I lived here in the area for 20 years, and there's so much to do here with the parks, the golf, the fun. I joke, as we moved up to South Carolina to take care of my wife's family. My wife's from South Carolina, so we moved up to take care of them. So I said, my wife's happy, my daughters are happy, and I drive back and forth to Florida.
Hey, if mama's happy, then
everybody's happy.
The old saying, but so I got you guys into Universal the other day.
Yes, yeah.
Did you get a wand? Did you get your own wand from
No,
Harry
I
Potter?
didn't, but my daughter already had a wand.
I just want to make sure, because you seemed a little excited to be there.
I
for
was
Harry
actually,
Potter,
you can't help but get excited. I mean, if your kids are excited, you're excited.
Absolutely.
We talked earlier, you do something for me, well, that's great. You do something for my family, that's a whole different level.
Oh, absolutely.
And my daughters, we were there from opening to closing. We spent the whole day at the park, man, and we had a great time. It was a lot of fun, and we all slept well last night.
Makes you a proud dad too.
Yeah, it sure does. I mean, and I was riding the Hulk, the green one, not the yellow and gold one. I rode the Hulk. We did a lot of the rides. Actually, one of the rides I enjoyed the most was the Mummy, which I've never been on before. So we rode the Mummy, and that was a lot of fun. Of course, the Despicable Me, the daughters, the dad. We had a great time at the park. Hey, it's Universal.
Absolutely, absolutely. You're actually in town, a little bit of a vacation, I know, but
Kind of a working vacation,
yeah. In a couple of days, you're going to be down in Miami at SuperCon. It's SuperCon, right?
SuperCon, I believe.
Florida
It's
SuperCon.
a comic book convention.
Tell everybody a little bit about what you're
well, actually,
down
it's
there.
a strange tie-in between wrestling and comic books. You wouldn't think, people say, what are you doing at a comic convention? But I mean, it's not really a comic book, it's almost pop culture. Daisy Duke is there, Adam West is there, the guy from the Power Rangers. I mean, you meet a lot of Playboy playmates. I mean, it's great. Of course, the wrestlers are there. So just a couple of weeks ago, I did one up in Niagara Falls, Canada.
Wow.
It was Theodore DiBiase, Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, who may be the greatest technical wrestler in the sport, but he can't fight a lick. And when you're in the ring with Hacksaw Duggan, I'm sorry, brother.
Hey, anytime I know you probably took a couple 2x4 shots.
A few of them over the years.
So.
Usually I give them though.
Yeah.
But it was Teddy, myself, the Nasty Boys, which is a whole other story, and of course Mick Foley was there, and we had a great time and did good business. That's one thing. Mick is a good friend of mine, but there's an example of a guy that's 12, 15 years younger than me, and he had trouble walking from here to the door. I mean, he really busted his body up over the years, and that's what I try to tell the younger guys. There's life after professional wrestling. Take care of your body. And also what a lot of folks don't understand, they say, I do these small independent shows. I was up in Des Moines, Iowa this past Thursday, and flew home Friday, drove down here Saturday. And all the young guys are like, I want to be a WWE wrestler. I do whatever. I said, son, understand one thing. There's 1,500 NFL football players playing this year. There's 1,000 NBA basketball players in the NBA. There's 120 wrestlers at a WWE show. It's a very, very competitive business. Everybody assumes because it's wrestling, well, it's wrestling. I can do that. It's very, and to get one of those 120 spots, you got to take my job or his job or your job, and we're holding onto our job as tight as we can.
Absolutely.
And then the other big misconception, people say, well, you wrestlers, you're all good friends, aren't you? I said, yeah, we all compete for the same money. We're real good buddies. Well, wrestling handshake goes like this: nice to meet you. Back to the stab to the back.
Yeah. Well, I know, I and everybody knows it's watched the show, so I wrestled, a little bit, and it was like Mick Foley and stuff like that is why I quit, because I had 7 or 8 matches, and I'm like, you know what, I don't want to walk like that.
You crippled your whole rest of your life.
I already have bad knees, which is why I got into wrestling. It was like the old persona, the old football players that get injured, they become wrestlers. A lot of cases.
Well, you think about it now that I'm with the School of the Legends, which is an NFL website that I'm on. I'm actually the only wrestler that actually has proof to the NFL. Like I said, even Goldberg, I played in the NFL.
But so the convention is this weekend,
right?
And you're going to be down there signing,
right?
What's your autograph cost?
Yeah, well, I work for a little agent that he handles myself, Joyce DeWitt from the Threes Company, and a couple other of us. And he sells everything for autographed pictures are $20. Picture with me is $20. 2x4s are $40. And God bless the folks come out and buy a lot of that stuff. Of course, my generation of guys, me, of course, Junkyard Dogs passed, Jake the Snake Roberts, Ted DiBiase. That was kind of the golden age of wrestling.
Oh, absolutely.
People remember that, and even though I've been wrestling for 34 years, I probably only spent maybe 10, 12 with the WWE or F. Everybody remembers that time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I've known Jimmy for 20 years, Jimmy Hart for 20 years.
Jimmy Hart, sure.
And whenever he's in town and me and him are running around doing stuff, everybody recognizes him.
Very recognizable. I mean, even at the park yesterday, I bet I took a dozen pictures with folks, with my glasses on, I put my hair up under my hat, but if you stick around long enough, people are looking at you like, I know him from somewhere. Who is that guy?
But it's great when you guys actually still do take the time, and talk to the fans and do.
Well, the fans are what makes it all possible.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've been able to support my family, put food on my table for 34 years in this profession, and the reason is the fans.
Absolutely, and that's great, and as a fan and as a wrestler, I appreciate everything you guys do and take the time to even talk to me and stuff like that. It means a lot to everybody, and
well, at this point, it's nice to be remembered, brother.
Yeah, especially with the generation of wrestlers that are going now, and
well, there's a high turnover now.
Yeah.
The kids come and go. Well, I don't think you're going to see many 30-year careers like you did with Flair or myself or guys like that. Guys come and go, and it's a different business. Folks are very critical of the show nowadays. They're like, well, I enjoyed the old days. Wrestling's not what it used to be. I was at WrestleMania this year up at MetLife Stadium in Jersey where the New York Giants play. 82,000 people. I said, well, somebody's watching this show.
It's something's going right.
And it's worldwide. It's amazing the appeal of professional wrestling. My last run with WWE, we did all through South America. We did Santiago, Chile, Lima, Peru, Panama City, and El Salvador.
You get to see some exotic places.
You see the airport, the hotel, and the arena. Yeah. But you know what ringside seats cost in Lima, Peru? 2 chickens and a goat.
And a daughter, possibly. Danny is a huge fan of yours.
Yeah, we had a nice visit with Danny.
And when I told him that I got you to agree to do the show, he's like, I want to be part of it.
My pleasure.
So we had to have Danny on, and the 2x4 is your trademark. That and the American flag are your trademarks, and it's...
Well, actually, the 2x4 came into play before the American flag did, because, when I've been wrestling for many years. When I first started, I broke in Dallas, Texas with Fritz von Erich. And, I played my college football for Southern Methodist University in Dallas.
Okay.
And I was a football player. That was my main goal in life, to be an NFL football player. And I was with the Atlanta Falcons in '77. I had 2 knee surgeries. I went back to Dallas. I gave Fritz a call, and I started wrestling in '79. But I first started off as Big Jim Duggan. I had short hair and clean shaven, and I wore a long gold bathrobe to the ring, you know.
Nice.
And so I went from Dallas to the WWF with Vince McMahon Sr.
Yeah.
And I wrestled up there, and you know, the first main thing I did was try to get out of the Cobra Clutch. Sergeant Slaughter, and I was a young kid, I was all excited. And I wrestled Ken Patera and Angelo Mosca and people like that. And so Arnie Skolin and Vince McMahon Sr., they called me in the office and they're like, "Kid, you might have a future, but come up with something better than Big Jim and get rid of that gold bathrobe."
So you gave it to Hulk.
No, yeah. I wish. But so then they sent me to Hawaii, to learn the business. And of course, the business was much closer than this before the internet and everybody understood our business. So they sent me to Hawaii, and I was over there working for Peter Maivia, The Rock's grandfather. And so I said, well, they put under a mask. I was wrestling as the convict. And so as a young kid, I was like, well, what can I do different? I'll put C's on my mask for the convict, which I thought made a lot of sense,
Right.
So I go out to the ring, and all the fans are like, why'd you put those ears on your mask? I said, they're not ears, they're C's for the convict, So obviously that didn't work, So I came back, and I went from from Hawaii back to WWF to Georgia Championship Wrestling. And then when NWA took over Georgia, I went to Pensacola. And down there I became Wild Man Duggan. I wore a fur with chains on, I grew my beard real bushy. And that didn't work. And Bruiser Brody and Buck Robley, who I met in Georgia, they went to San Antonio for Tully Blanchard's dad, Southwest Texas Wrestling. And that's where I became Hacksaw. So out of 34 years, probably 30 of them I've been Hacksaw. But out West Texas and Louisiana, just getting back and forth to the ring, if you're a bad guy, was very dangerous. They just had ropes, and the people believed it. They hated your guts. So you're just trying to get back and forth the ring. People would punch you, they'd spit on you. And if you're all hot and sweaty, they flick their cigarette stick to you and burn you. So I'm in the back, all beat up. I'm wrestling Brody. He's a good guy. I'm a bad guy. And he says, Duggan, if you carry something to the ring, carry something you can use. Forget the feathered boas and sequin ropes, So I'm like, well, geez, there's a piece of wood laying right there. Let me try this. So I grabbed the 2x4. I went out to the ring. I was swinging that 2x4 over my head. It was like parting the Red Sea. The people scattered. I got back and forth to the ring without a problem. So that's where the 2x4 was developed. And then I went from Southwest to Mid-South. Which was Bill Watts, of course, one of the most famous companies in our profession.
Absolutely.
And I was with me, Matt Bourne, Matt Bourne, and Ted DiBiase.
Okay, you got to explain that here in a little while.
Yeah, I'll tell you Matt's story later. But I think he's dead. Anyway, so me, Ted DiBiase, and Matt Bourne were the Rat Pack, and we're bad guys. And of course, I'll tell you a good Rat Pack story. This is great. I dressed up in a gorilla costume one time. I was out in front of the TV studio with a bunch of balloons, and Teddy was wrestling Junkyard Dog, loser leave town match. And so the fans come in, and I got makeup under my eyes here, and a mask on the hands, the chest, the whole bit, and they're like, come to the show, Gorilla, come to the show. Ooh, 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 ooh. I'm giving balloons to all the kids, so I'm sitting there watching the show, the whole show, and Boyd Pierce, the announcer's like, well, the gorilla from the State Fair is here handing out balloons, and I'm giving balloons to all the fans. So main event, Dog and DiBiase, they're fighting. DiBiase throws Dog out of the ring, and I help Junkyard Dog up, I brush him off. He turns around, boom, hit him in the back of the head, grabbed him, run him into the pole. I pulled that gorilla hook mask off. Everybody goes, it's Duggan! It's cockeyed Duggan! And of course, DiBiase won the match, but then Junkyard Dog, he came back under a mask and said his name was Stagger Lee, that he wasn't Junkyard Dog and was able to stay in the territory. But then that's when I started carrying the flag later on, because Ted DiBiase joined Skandar Akbar and went against America, and that just wasn't my character, so I ended up with a flag and a board.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's where the legendary flag and board
comes from. And that's, so many guys in the WWE nowadays, Vince McMahon and the creative team comes up with their character. They developed that character, they owned that character. Brutus the Barber Beefcake was a Vince McMahon creation. The Big Boss Man was a Vince McMahon creation. That's why when guys leave that territory, they couldn't Is that your phone? Where's my 2x4? Oh, my book!
Tearing
Oh,
up
brother!
the set. Wow.
But, yeah.
Only in America.
Yeah, but that's where so many guys were able to use their character. Guys like myself, Jake the Snake Roberts, Hulk Hogan, they were those characters before they came into WWF.
Right.
And they were able to use that when we left and went to WCW.
So then when you were with Matt, it was a gorilla and a clown?
Well, he wasn't a clown then. He was just a piece of garbage.
Oh, that evolved into a clown?
Yeah, the clowny garbage. But
There you go.
But the Matt was not a good person, but we're not going to talk bad about the dead.
Absolutely, absolutely. You can laugh though.
I think that was him.
Oh,
I
okay,
did.
yeah, Danny's like that. He knows that.
Anyway.
But hey, I was just wondering, can I keep the 2x4?
No way, brother! If Hogan comes through that door, I'm going to grab this 2x4 and I'm going to do what Hacksaw Jim Duggan does best. Beat people up, tough guy. Give me a hole, guys.
Okay. Well, can we do this then with the
Yeah,
2x4? Can we get you to sign it
Sure.
and raffle it off for charity?
Oh, that'd be my pleasure. Actually, I do a whole lot of charity work. I probably do at least 200 hours a year of charity work.
wow. Awesome.
One of my main charity events is I do the Variety Club Telethon in Des Moines, Iowa. This will be my 15th year doing it. Last year we raised $4 million.
Wow, that's
it's
amazing.
a small Midwest telethon, and we raise that kind of money. My other main charity event is down in Key West, Florida. I do the World Sailfish Championship, actually. And this year I was the honorary chairman. The past two honorary chairmen was General Schwarzkopf,
Wow.
a hero of mine.
Wow, great
Absolutely.
company
What a
to be
great
in.
event.
Don Shula.
Wow.
And this year it was my deal. And I've been doing that for 10 years. And of course, we raised money for many different charities down there. And of course, my hometown, I'm very active in the community. I talk to the schools, I ride with the police. Like I said, we're not all Mickey Rourke.
Wait. I can imagine you pulling up on a call and getting out of the squad car. It's like, crap.
Yeah.
And
Well,
pick
you know
up
what-
the 2x4 and
What usually happens though, because I know my dad was a cop for 44 years.
Oh, wow.
He was he the
Chief of police, the chief of
in New
police
York,
for
yeah.
24, upstate New
Upstate
York,
New
a little small town called Glens Falls.
Falls.
So when I ride with the police officers, they all get together and like, we got a hacksaw with us, let's go get one. I'm like, don't do it on my account.
we won't even take bullets this time. We'll just take 2x4s.
But sure enough, sooner or later they'll hook somebody up and they'll throw them in the back seat and I'll be sitting in the front seat, the guy will be cuffed up going, son deep, big shot. Hacksaw Duggan? I'm a big fan, Hacksaw. Get me out of this. I said, it don't work for me, kid. It ain't going to work for you.
And there you go. I know your accolades for wrestling. 2011 inducted into the Hall of Fame, which is
Nice
awesome.
honor, yeah, sure was.
Great.
And correct me, you were actually the first winner of the
Royal Rumble, that's right. Yeah, thank you for remembering that. That's kind of my claim to fame. And it shows that so many guys are so belt, title, championship oriented. I was never WWE World Champion. I was never WWE Intercontinental Champion. I was never Tag Team Champion. I never was a champion, but I had a great career. So many guys are like, I got to be the champ.
Yeah, and that,
My deal was, I don't care if I win the match, as long as I win the fight, tough guy. So a lot of times a bad guy would beat me.
I would go out on a limb personally, because I have such fond memory of watching you wrestle when I was a little boy, like maybe 4 or 5 or
Was
something.
that a shot?
I think it was.
That was a curveball.
I think you can
But
give me
what
one
I
too, and
was-
we won't watch.
What I was going to say, I just have such fond memory of watching you wrestle with my dad that in my eyes, I really felt you were really the people's champion back then.
Oh, thank you.
The
Thank you
first
for very-
true
Absolutely.
people's
Yeah.
champion. You had this whole patriotic thing going on, and I think a lot of people just
And
really...
it still carries over to this day.
Absolutely.
That was just on before WrestleMania this year. I wrestled Jack Swagger.
I saw the match.
I came out with Dusty Rhodes and Sergeant Slaughter. And I told Dusty, I said, just keep an eye on my 2x4, everything will be okay. So I get in the ring, I'm like, ho, ho, USA. I turn around, Jack Swagger's got my 2x4. I look over at Dusty like, I don't know.
He was too concerned about his kids.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the
So
Lady
I
Misfit
wanted to
toys.
ask just real quickly, is there like a favorite like match that you remember
Sure.
or one that you hated, maybe a little bit of both, or something that sticks out in your mind?
The match that's kind of the pinnacle of my career, I wrestled Andre the Giant Main event, Madison Square Garden. Over 20,000 people packed into the garden, you know, and of course, growing up in upstate New York, you know, I used to go to the NITs, the basketball tournament to guard, you know, as a young kid, my dad would take me, and all of a sudden, you pull up to the garden, and there's Madison Square Garden, main event, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Andre the Giant, that was kind of the pinnacle. Even though he was an irritable giant, I'll tell you. Rough day at the office. A lot of times I get on the airplane, I'll be sitting next to a guy, a businessman, he goes, man, I had a rough day at the office. I was like, brother, let me tell you, I just got done with a giant.
Well, you were when WCW ended, you were one of the champions for that.
I was WCW TV champion.
Yeah,
Sure
you were
was,
the last TV champion for WCW.
Yeah, I sure
So-
was, yeah.
But I gotta say, you know, you saying you were never like the world champion and stuff like that, but you're still in the Hall of Fame, to me speaks volumes of your character and of how
Well,
you
actually,
did the business.
it's
and-
almost like a trivia question. Now, who's the best known wrestler that was never champion? Maybe Hacksaw.
You know, but like I said, it speaks volumes for your character in and out of the ring.
Well,
and the
thank
kind of
you.
person you are.
Yeah.
And, you know, and when Knobs called me last week, he's like, hey,
You took the
Hacksaw.
call?
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I should know better by now. But, you know, he's like, hey, Hacksaw wants to come out and go to the park. So I'm like, give me my number. Have him call me.
Worked out great.
And then when I talked to you and you're like, I was like, hey, would you do the show? And you're like, sure. I was like, oh my God, this is just amazing, you know.
Not only did I do the show, I had a great sandwich here at Jerry's Sandwich Factory. Had a nice cocktail drink earlier before I got here.
Oh, there
I
you
tell you,
go.
I'm all fired up. I'm ready to go now. What we gonna do, fellas? Ho!
And give him a 2x4 across the back. But I think that's about it. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Well, I think we
Go on.
covered the book deal, and of course, if you folks are on Twitter or Facebook, it's Official Hacksaw on Twitter and Official Hacksaw on Facebook. Of course, I just started doing the Twitter stuff, you know, and
You tweet on Twitter?
I tweet on Twitter. Is that the right terminology? Yeah, I'm not sure.
Tweet.
Yeah, but I was joking earlier today. I said, well, you know, because I just went over 13,000 followers on Twitter, so I called
wow.
my very good friend Roddy Piper up, and I said, Piper, I said, I got 13,000 followers on Twitter. He goes, Jim, I got 250,000. I'm like, hey, fuck you later, Rod.
I hate you.
Yeah, right. But actually, we just did that Legend House, which hasn't aired yet. They took 8 wrestling legends to put us in a house out in Harpo Marx's mansion in Palm Springs.
Oh, wow.
And me and Piper were roommates. So for the first 2 days, we were like this.
Does he snore?
I mean, we were kind of no worse than me, brother, I tell you. But we had Hillbilly Jim in the other room, so nobody heard us at all. Yeah. But me and Pipe became very good friends, and actually we just got done filming a movie up in West Virginia. It was Kurt Angle, Matt Hardy, Piper, myself, Shane Douglas.
Oh, wow.
Pro wrestlers versus zombies. And it was
Wow,
it
that
was
would be interesting.
That was a 2-week shoot. They had over 200 zombie extras. They spent a lot of money. We filmed it at a closed down insane asylum.
Wow.
They tried to keep Piper there. I don't know.
Well, now, in all fairness, wouldn't most of the zombies have died of starvation with some of these guys?
Yes. They eat brains.
They eat brains.
They eat brains.
Ah, see, I didn't know that. All right, yeah. That was. I missed that, brother. But actually, you know, it was a lot of fun. That was my first movie experience. And of course, it was a 2-week shoot. I got my shooting schedule. I was there for 6 days. So I'm like, I'm zombie meat. But it was a lot of fun, though, I tell you. Overall, like I said earlier in the show, I said, it's been a great business for me. And I'm so tired. I'll tell you the Mickey Rourke story real quick. We just had WrestleMania in Houston a couple of years ago. They did Mickey Rourke, the wrestler. He actually wrestled
Jericho.
Chris
He did stuff
Jericho.
with Jericho, yeah.
And Jericho was classy young man. A great wrestler, a good person. But anyway, so we're the night before the party, or the show, Flair and myself and all the Hall of Famers are down, talking in the bar. So about 2 o'clock. I said,
Wrestlers in a bar?
Yeah,
Really?
imagine that. I said, I'll go up and I'll check on my daughters. You know, it's about 2 o'clock in the morning, and so I don't have my glasses on, which are big. So I go up there and my daughter's asleep, so I come down and I'm walking down the hallway and there's 3 people walking towards me. So I know the whole hotel is secure, it's all WWE people. So, you know, I move over to the right and 2 of their guys move over to the right. And as we walk by, I brush shoulders with this one guy, you know, I go by and just, you know me, I'm like, hey, got enough room there, brother? This guy spins around and goes, what'd you say to me? So I turn around, I'm like, who is this? I'm trying to focus in and figure out who this is, and all of a sudden it clicks, oh, that's that Mickey Rourke guy. I said, well, do you got enough room there, buddy? Mickey Rourke goes, well, nobody talks to me that way. So I said, I used my standard line, I said, well, stand up when you're talking to me, because it's about this big. And his 2 other guys with him was Ken Shamrock's brother and another UCF guy. And of course, they schmooze it all over. They're like, come on, Mickey, come on, Hacksaw, don't need no trouble in the hallway. And so the next day we had WrestleMania in Houston, you know, probably 70, 80,000 people at WrestleMania. And then they have a huge after party after WrestleMania. I mean, all kinds of celebrities, movie stars, sports stars, politicians. Kid Rock took pictures of my family. Shaquille O'Neal was very cool. Everybody's very cool. So the office guy comes up and he says, Hacksaw, if you see Mickey Rourke, go ahead and schmooze stuff over. I said, well, you know, it's a big party. If I see him, you know, I'll say something to him, you know. About a half hour later, the office guy comes over. He goes, you're right, Hacksaw, that Mickey Rourke is a jerk.
Wow, yeah.
Wow.
That's great.
But we're going to sign this board?
Yeah, man, that would be great.
And who's it going to be for? What charity are we going to do this
What charity are we
for?
doing it for, Dan?
I believe it's the National...
Central Florida Kidney Foundation.
Central Florida Kidney Foundation.
Century 40, well, that's a great, of
Well,
course.
that's the charity that's going to be the beneficiary of the raffle. We're going to do like a raffle
Very cool.
kind of
And,
thing. So we're
of course, me being a kidney cancer survivor, and of course Jerry has little kidney problems and dialysis. I mean, so this is great to be able to do this.
So that's
We
that's
appreciate
who's going to
you
get all the
doing
proceeds to it or whatever.
Well, I hope it helps a little bit, guys. I signed a lot of lumber over the years. You know, one time I had a big piece of lumber in my hand. I got a huge splinter in my thumb. I went, oh.
You know,
That's where it came from.
I actually have stories. Jimmy Hart and Jerry Lawler, I'm good friends with both of them.
2 good guys.
And there is a restaurant we go to eat at over on the other side of town, the Orlando Ale House. And 2 different times we sat in this one booth, me with Jimmy and then me with Jerry, and they both sat on the same side. Both got splinters
Oh, really?
in their butt. And as they were getting out of
Jerry's got a pretty big butt.
and I was like, you know, I love both you guys to death, but yeah, it's staying there. I'm not getting it out.
Thank God it wasn't a rattlesnake bite.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Is this a right-handed or left-handed 2x4?
That's a right-handed.
Good, perfect. All right, I can't use a left-handed one.
No.
To Jerry's Sandwich Shop?
Ready. To Jerry's
Sandwich Factory.
Factory. Thank you.
And how do you guys spell? You spell
Yeah,
Jerry?
G-E-R-R-Y, apostrophe S.
There you go.
And I think
Yeah,
that
the button in the
has
front.
Factory.
Just if you want to come around on this side, take it as he's signing it.
Thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure, man. Thank
Yeah, go ahead and
you.
take it as he's signing it. Well, of him with it too.
Is this? Oh, you yes.
Not to be confused with the Thundercats.
Do they do all that? You probably get them from gimmick
Yeah, I
infringement,
think, yeah.
right?
There you go.
Somebody that created the Thundercats must have been a big
That's
fan of
good.
yours.
Awesome.
We gotta get some shots together with this in the background.
Yeah,
fellas.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
We'll
we
move
gotta-
the tables
we
and we'll
gotta-
get the pictures. We'll redo the banner.
We'll
and
do the
nice
banner
and
a
tight.
little bit, yeah.
and
You
get
kind of
Jerry in the
followed us
photos.
here. We got a little excited, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, Danny tears stuff. You know.
yeah,
But-
might as
Well,
well.
thank you so
Well,
much
my
for being on the
pleasure,
show,
man.
man.
Thank you,
It was a
Scotty.
great honor to
Brother,
have you as our first celebrity guest.
well, I'm sure
Yeah.
first of many, man. Have you got
I
Jimmy
know.
Hart coming, Jerry Lawler?
We do.
So
Well, I'm
hopefully
sure,
we're
yeah.
gonna have them. You know, we're
Both
gonna try
those
to
guys are class acts, and I'm really glad to help you. And this is great that you're doing something for the kidney folks.
Yeah, I think it's.
We
I
appreciate
go-
you helping out.
Oh,
Yeah.
my honor, guys.
What
Alright.
a class act, you know. Thank you again for your time and
Well, thank you,
And
bud.
being
At least
here
you're
and
saying that, man.
Just the
I had a
the
great
memories,
time, man.
thank you,
Sitting here
you know?
enjoying with you guys.
Yeah.
Good food, good friends. What can you ask
So,
for?
how was the sandwich?
It was great.
All right.
It's a little different than a whole.
There you
Yeah,
go.
sounds good to me.
All right. Thank you
Awesome.
so
Thanks,
much.
fellas. Thanks, folks.